Words of our Divine Mother from the book Words of the Mother, Volume 14. Topic: Surrender to the Divine Will, page 113. Surrender. Our Divine Mother says, surrender, the decision to hand over the responsibility of your life to the Divine. This is done either through the mind or the emotion or the life impulse or through all of them together. To surrender to the Divine is to renounce your narrow limits and let yourself be invaded by it and make a center for its play. If you are truly surrendered to the Divine in the right manner and totally, then at every moment you will be what you ought to be, you will do what you ought to do, you will know what you ought to know. But for that you should have transcended all the limitations of the ego. True surrender enlarges you, it increases your capacity, it gives you a greater measure in quality and in quantity which you could not have had yourself. Detailed surrender, a surrender which does not forget anything. Our Divine Mother says a detailed surrender. It means the surrender of all the details of life, even the smallest and the most insignificant in appearance, and this means to remember the Divine in all circumstances. Whatever we think, whatever we feel or do, we must do it for Him as a way of coming close to Him, to be more and more what He wants us to be, capable of manifesting His will in perfect sincerity and purity, to be the instruments of His love. Our Divine Mother says, if man surrenders totally to the Divine, he identifies himself with the Divine. Perfect surrender, the indispensable condition for identification. Our Divine Mother says, in the integrality and absoluteness of bhakti and surrender, we find the essential condition of perfect peace leading to uninterrupted bliss. The path is long, says our Divine Mother. The path is long, but self-surrender makes it short. The way is difficult, but perfect trust makes it easy. Surrender to the Divine is the most emotional, best emotional protection. Surrender to the Divine is the best emotional protection. The true repose is that of a perfect surrender to the Divine. Question: what is the secret of success in sadhana, sweet Mother? For that our Divine Mother says, surrender. To will what the Divine wills is the next topic. Our Divine Mother says, surrender. To will what the Divine wills is the supreme wisdom. To will what God wills, that is the supreme secret. Will one with the Divine will, a condition that triumphs over all obstacles. Divine will, the will expressing the higher truth. Our Divine Mother says, let us do our best in all circumstances, leaving the result to the Divine's decision. We must be satisfied with what the Divine gives us and do what He wants us to do without weakness, free from useless ambition. Whenever there is any difficulty, we must always remember that we are here exclusively to accomplish the Divine's will. And when our adhesion to the Divine's will is total, then also our peace and joy become total. The Divine's will is that we should be like channels, always open, always more wide, so that His forces may pour their abundance into the mouth. Our will always be a perfect expression of the Divine's will. Our will, says our Divine Mother, must always be a perfect expression of the Divine's will. Our constant prayer is to understand the Divine's will and live accordingly. We must lie before the Divine always like a page, perfectly blank, so that the Divine's will may be inscribed in us without any difficulty or mixture. At each moment, says our Mother, our sweet Mother, At each moment, may our attitude be such that the divine's will determines our choice, so that the divine may give the direction to all our life. We must see only through the divine's eyes and act through the divine's will. We must know how to depend for everything and everything on the divine. He alone can surmount all difficulties. In a total surrender to the divine, there can be no longer errors or faults or any insufficiencies, since it is what the divine has willed that he does, and it is done as the divine has willed it. Our Divine Mother says, always the Supreme Will remains the eternal mystery, calling for all our wonder and marveling. Like the child who does not reason and has no care, we trust ourselves to the divine, that the divine's will be done, may be done. Like the child who does not reason and has no care, we trust ourselves to the divine, that the divine's will may be done. To do at each moment the best we can and leave the result to the divine's decision is the surest way to peace, happiness, strength, progress, and final perfection. Our Divine Mother says, the only thing you have to do is to remain quiet, undisturbed, solely turned towards the divine. The rest is in his hands. The only thing you have to do is to remain quiet, undisturbed, solely turned towards the divine. The rest is in his hands. Many of the problems of the present world is that the population has increased enormously in the last 100 years. So many souls evolved in such a short time was the next question. What will be the destiny of the world in regards to its population? Will the numbers go up increasing with the current speed, or will there be a certain period of drop without any artificial means? Next question, in case a population decreases in the future, what will be the fate of so many souls that have evolved so far? For this, our Divine Mother says, there is a supreme consciousness that governs the manifestation. His wisdom is certainly much greater than ours, so we should not bother about what will happen. Blessings. Our Divine Mother says, the Lord is always victorious, in His own way, not in the human way, according to His own will, not according to the will of men. The Lord is always present, only we do not realize it. We are always free to make our proposals to the Lord, but after all, it is only His will that is realized. If one looks from high enough, says our Divine Mother, if one looks from high enough, whatever one does, one never wastes one's time, since one acts according to one's nature and without knowing it according to the will of the Lord. Be quiet and offer yourself calmly and confidently. All that happens is always the effect of the Supreme's will. Human action can be the occasion, but never the cause.